Almost a year ago, we drove an Evo 9 MR and an STI swapped Subaru Forester from Florida to Alaska. And now we've decided to take another road trip. This time, it'll be in cars that we bought for $5,000. Ben will be taking his supercharged Miata, and I will be taking my Type R swapped Honda Civic on a journey of 7,000 miles, down to the southernmost point in the continental US and all the way up north to Nova Scotia.
I'm a Miata owner and I am fabulous! Oh, come on.
So we are staying in an Airbnb while we're here in North Carolina / Tennessee for Deals Gap. We got an Airbnb so that we could keep our cars here. There's a garage, so we have both of our cars in the garage. Ben can take the top off the Miata, and I can take all of the stuff out of the Civic. Very excited to drive Tail of the Dragon for the first time, and I'm glad I get to do it in a fun car.
Tail of the dragon, dragon's tail. So, Tail of the Dragon it is, top down, living my most Miata life. True Miata. This car is just the best with the top down. It's factual. And despite how much effort I put into my hair this morning, I'm potentially willing to sacrifice that for the good times. You know, in the excitement to take the top down and hit the tail of the dragon, it's easy to forget that things might get a little bit chilly in March in North Carolina, but fear not, I came prepared. You just can't drive a Roadster without a scarf.
So here we are at the Tail of the Dragon. We have a big metal dragon behind us to signify the fact that we are here at the Tail of the Dragon.
This is not what we're going to be driving on. We're going to drive on a road meant for cars.
Yeah. This is my first time here, so I'm very excited to go on a drive, and I've got a fun, lighthearted car. Glad it doesn't make a ton of horsepower, definitely doesn't make a ton of torque. I'm excited.
Yeah, me as well. It should be very entertaining in a Miata. Prime motoring, if you will. So yeah, 300 some corners in 11 or so miles. Should be super, super entertaining. So let's go and see what it's all about.
People often come to the Dragon to challenge their driving skill, but this road is 11 miles long, and it can take quite a while to drive all the way through it. It's very easy to zone out, even for a second, and sometimes that's all it takes. A motorcyclist had gone down on his Yamaha R1, and it would be over 45 minutes before an ambulance would show up to take him to the hospital. It just goes to show how dangerous this road can be and how important it is to be safe and alert when driving on the Dragon. With 318 turns in 11 miles, the tail of the Dragon has nearly twice as many turns per mile as the Nürburgring Nordschleife. And with the closest hospital an hour away, this is a road that you want to be safe on. The road itself is not dangerous, but the people that drive on the road can be. The tail of the Dragon has claimed the lives of 46 people since the year 2000, most of which are motorcyclists. And at the base of the mountain, there was a tree of shame, which served as a coat rack for miscellaneous body panels on vehicles that have wrecked here. The tail of the Dragon is not a road to be driven without respect.
The tail of the Dragon is super fascinating to me. It feels like an amusement park, all centered around an 11-mile stretch of road. They literally sell t-shirts. They have entire establishments at the entry of the road where they sell merchandise. There are pits where you can work on your bike. There are people taking pictures of every single car that comes through the tail of the Dragon, not just sports cars, literally every car. You can find a picture of the Prius that you took through here online and buy it. But it's really weird because to really enjoy this road, it helps to exceed the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit that's imposed on this entire 11-mile stretch. So essentially what they're doing is building a marketplace around the idea of people kind of breaking the law. So when you get pulled over by a cop and given a ticket, kind of feels like you're getting sent mixed signals.
This Civic is a ton of fun to drive on the tail of the Dragon. I feel like this road was meant for this car. Like, it's got great throttle response, great steering feel. There's not a lot of straight sections, so not having a lot of horsepower isn't really a bad thing. Honestly, it's good that I have good throttle response. VTEC is great and all. I really don't need to use it on this road. I can have plenty of fun without VTEC. The Miata, on the other hand, is very underpowered without the supercharger, which I constantly hear whining behind me.
Woo! Oh, it sounds so good. The supercharger, which I've commented before, doesn't really add very much horsepower. Adds just enough to make, on a tight little road like this, the Miata feel like it has plenty of power. And you get to hear it echo off of the hills and off the trees, and it sounds fantastic. It gives the Miata just the right amount of character to be a total blast out here.
Ben and I both had a blast driving our cars on the tail of the Dragon. We'd really started to get attached to these dumb little cars, and after driving almost a day on the twisty roads, we decided to trade places for a bit and see what we thought of each other's rides.
Hey, I was wondering, can I drive your car?
Yeah, dude.
Wow, you were ready with that.
No, I was gonna see what your thoughts were of driving actually a fast car.
So step one of driving a car that Ben has just been in is adjusting everything for normal-sized people.
After driving the Miata for 2,000 miles, it was nice to finally get into a different car and see how that drove, and I gotta say, the little Honda Civic was a lot of fun.
Ben's Miata has so much more torque than this Civic, it's not even funny. It makes driving on these mountain roads really easy. But now, the sun is about to set and it's time to continue our journey north.
There you go.
Well, power steering is amazing.
No power steering sucks.
Yeah.
Like, in other cars, like NSXs don't have power steering, whatever.
Yeah, well,
it's great.
Also front engine. You got a lot of weight on the front wheels. It just needs a power steering pump. It's like $20 from a junkyard. It'd be so much better.
If it had power steering, it'd be much better. The lack of torque was astonishing.
Yeah, you see what I mean? I have to downshift to second almost every corner going up a hill. Yeah. You have to be in second unless you're really moving in third.
Did you see like how much
you could just be in third the whole time? Yeah. Yeah, torque is nice.
Yeah. I didn't realize there would be such a discrepancy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. These two are very different cars.
Your car felt way stiffer. My car, the Miata is not stiff.
Yeah. Back at the Airbnb, we had some of the most wonderful steaks, seasoned with a taste of Canada. We had to make sure that we were all rested up, because we're about to make a 1,000-mile drive up through Detroit and into Toronto to meet up with some of the guys at Speed Academy and track our cars. I'm eager to get the Civic on track, especially since I'm pretty sure it's faster than Ben's Miata, but we'll have to find out soon enough. The next morning, I snuck out to top off the oil in the Civic one more time, and then we all hit the road. So Ben kept driving on the highway. I snuck off because I need to get some oil. Little secret, they don't know, but the engine definitely burns oil when it's on VTEC. It's a Honda thing. Hondas just burn oil, particularly when you're on VTEC. I'm gonna take two. The Civic isn't burning that much oil, and I'm told this happens even with brand new motors. Honda engines just burn oil. It's part of what they do. I just have to keep an eye on it as I drive. All right, there we go. That was almost a half a quart of oil. They're probably a few miles ahead of me now, so I ironically have to use VTEC to catch back up to them. Here we go. With no complications, we decided to drive all the way to Detroit for the night. Detroit is an incredible place. It's really cool to stop and see all of the abandoned buildings. I've truly never seen anything like it. And despite the city's decline, there's tons of history here. And there's also tons of potholes.
It's very painful to drive around here. My steering is off now. Having entered Detroit, I very quickly found that my steering was cockeyed. I think perhaps from all of the speed bumps, my alignment has become slightly ajar. These roads threaten to shake apart the Miata. Chill out with these potholes, it's very fragile.
Before we leave Detroit and head into Canada, there's one more stop that we have to make. So we're here at Advanced Auto Parts. We're gonna pick up some oil ahead of time before we hit the track. That way we're prepared. When you drive your car hard, especially on the track, you wanna make sure you change your oil a little bit before the recommended interval since you're putting the oil through a lot of abuse. The cars only have about 2,000 miles on them at this point, but we're gonna change the oil out directly after the track day because, again, it breaks down the oil a little bit quicker, so it's just a good idea to do that. And then we should be good with oil for the rest of the trip. So this will be the only oil change on this road trip. With a surplus of oil with us, we headed for the border. So I have a $20 US bill. Do you think that's like $100 in Canadian?
Ben, we've been through this. That's like $1,000 in Canadian.
I'm sorry, I'm not very good at this.
The conversion rate is confusing, I understand. Just add 4 zeros. I've got just impressive valve train tick coming from the Miata engine. Valve train tick is pretty common with Miatas. In fact, it's very common, but it hasn't been this bad.
Does anybody know how to speak French?
I'm learning to speak French from all these signs. So open, everybody say it with me, ouvert.
Ouvert.
And closed, fermé.
Fermé.
Buses, autobus.
Wait, what's Nexus?
It's kind of like this cosmic continuum where DC and Marvel characters can kind of get together and have crossover events.
Oh, I thought it was a tablet. We all made it through the border crossing without getting strip searched, and we were now in Canada. Hello. Well, I made it. We're here in Canada. Everything's in kilometers again. My gauge cluster is in kilometers per hour because it is Japanese, the JDM Type R gauge cluster. And because everything's in kilometers per hour, I've been trying to do the conversion in my head this whole time on this road trip. But now I don't have to do the conversion anymore. It is 70 kilometers an hour, and I can look at my gauge cluster and see 70 kilometers an hour.
Ben's lucky because his dash cluster is Japanese, so it already reads in kilometers. He's used to it by now, and all these signs will actually mean something. Meanwhile, maximum 70 kilometers per hour. I'm speeding. I'm speeding significantly.
Despite being reliable for most of the trip, ever since crossing into Canada, the Miata motor had started to make a little bit of noise. I could barely hear the border crossing guard over my valve train tick. So we pulled over to check things out.
How's it going, Ben?
It's going okay. My car is making a very loud tiki-tiki, which is pretty popular with Miatas, but I don't know why it's doing it. So Gonna just check the oil, make sure there is some. We'll go from there. Huh, no oil.
No oil?
Nothing. Frick did my oil go?
You know, when I was following Ben on the tail of the Dragon, I did see some smoke come out of the tailpipe, just a little bit. It's pretty shameful for your car to burn oil. I mean, man, I just can't imagine having a car that burns oil.
Can't relate. Not even registering. So let this be a lesson to you kids. Check your oil. Don't wait to hear the valve tick, and don't assume it's just a Miata thing. Just took about a quart and a half to get it back up to normal level. So whoever buys this from me after the trip, keep that in mind. See, no ticking. It's all fixed. You just knew it needed oil.
Just a little bit more driving and we were in Toronto. We were welcomed by the lack of 93 octane, but this time I was sure to bring some octane booster, just in case. We are in Ontario, Canada to go to Toronto Motorsports Park and see which of our two cars is faster. Both of our cars aren't exactly set up for the track though. So first, we're going to stop by Speed Academy headquarters. Speed Academy is an automotive YouTube channel with a focus on modifying cars and making them faster on track. They're our kind of guys, and we're blown away by their hospitality. They let us swing by their shop to change out our brake pads for some more track-appropriate pads for Ben and I's race tomorrow morning. Street brake pads are great for road-going cars, but when you go to the track, they're going to experience more heat than they would normally on the road. So it's a good idea to change them out for pads that are meant more for the track.
So what kind of difference am I going to see between like these street pads and
this compound is obviously going to be much more better on the racetrack, so it's going to have better heat resistance in that sense, where these guys would probably annihilate pretty quickly. And the beauty of these is you can still run them on the street.
Sweet.
So they're going to probably have a little bit more noise, but the trade-off's perfect. I think you're going to love these for the rest of the trip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So these are like a legit kind of like street and track pad?
Yeah, they're a good intermediate pad. Like I wouldn't go lapping on these for 10 laps in a row, but for what we're going to do today, they're going to be perfect.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sweet.
Let's get them installed.
Yeah.
We decided to go with Hawk DTC 30 brake pads. Pete and Dave were nice enough to order them ahead of time for us so we'd have them ready for the track day. And as I finished the brake pads on the Civic, Ben had one more thing to take care of.
So I've been putting up with a fitment issue with my hardtop for my entire ownership of this car, and so I thought I'd wait till we got to Canada to find somebody qualified to actually fix that for me.
Bang some metal here, get this fixed.
Yeah. This is the Speed Academy special.
There we go.
One of the two clamps that holds my hardtop on had been getting loose at higher speeds, so Pete with his mechanical wizardry cut up some metal to make a stronger connection between the hardtop and the car. I didn't want my top to fly off and hit Ben as I blew the doors off his Civic on track.
So our team fabricator Pete is fabricating a part for me to make sure that the hardtop stays on so that the Miata can beat the Civic at the track. So, and clearly you see what basket Pete is putting his metaphorical eggs into. So that's fantastic.
The guys here at Speed Academy had everything taken care of, so we can be safe on track with our cars tomorrow morning. They went the extra mile to make sure we were going to have fun at Toronto Motorsports Park, and you'll see more of them in next episode. Our cars are now ready for the track. Unfortunately though, we're going to have to wait until next episode to see which of our two cars is faster.